Hello, and welcome to a Let's Play of Gnomoria from Socially Awkward Gaming. So, I started this kingdom, and I called it Awkwardville, right here. And it's on difficulty of easy. So, this is Gnomoria, and it's basically, if you know what Dwarf Fortress is, you have a pretty good idea of what Gnomoria is. It's a kingdom building game where you control a bunch of people and try to keep them from dying. So, as with most of these kinds of games, we'll need to start by giving them a little place to live. So, I want to dig into the ground to build them a nice little underground encampment little place. So I'm going to start with a hall like this, and then it'll split off to make a bunch of different rooms. So you can assign your people using this populations tab. And these are my gnomes, they're standing right there. Aren't they beautiful? So I have 2 builders, and 2 farmers, and 2 miners, and a rancher, and 2 woodcutters. I don't think I need that many builders, and I think I could have them doing other things like, well, farming is really important in the beginning, so I think I want a farmer. And, I think everything else is okay for right now. So I want to set a farm up before we get too far into the day, because we need, like, food as soon as possible. So I'm going to set up a farm, a little tiny one I'm thinking, in a nice flat area like this. So I think I'll set up maybe a 6x6. Oops. And this farm is going to be for wheat, because out of wheat you can make bread and you can make ale and just feed your yaks. There's lots of uses for wheat, so we're going to start with wheat. And also, to keep our yaks, we need to get straw as soon as possible, and wheat produces straw. So we're going to have a little wheat farm right here. We also need a big giant area for our yaks, and we want it kind of close to home. It doesn't look like there's a nice flat area that close. So I think I'll just start an area up here, and then I'll dig to it, because I want to enclose everything, because enclosing everything keeps all the monsters away. So let's make a pasture right here. There's lots of stuff in the way, but that's alright, it'll just go over that. Really big pasture. We want lots of little yak babies. So we'll put the yaks here, we're going to feed them with straw, and I guess I'll call this yaks. And we can have 44 males, or well, 44 total animals in here, but the males are really only used for impregnating the females, so you can have more yaks. So I'm going to keep the male number low and the female number pretty high, because we want lots of baby yaks, so we can slaughter them, because they make good food. And I think I'll set this to go. Now, we want to make a bunch of different rooms, like I mentioned before. So we want a dormitory, and we want a workshop room for lots of creating and stuff. So I think the workshop room, what I like having is a, is that 7? No, it's 6 long. Okay, so we need a 7 by however many, doesn't really matter. So that way you can have workshops take 3x3 spaces. So this would be 1 workshop right here. And I like having a path going down the middle, so you could have 2 workshops on either side. So let's create a nice way to get to that. And you want the stockpile room to be very close to the workshop room, because the workshops take directly from the stockpile. So I think we'll have this about the same. Is that, oh no, whoopsie daisies. That went too far. So when you want to cancel something, you just go to cancel job and delete that, because I do not want them digging through the entire wall. I feel like that's a terrible idea. Is that the same? Nope, it's that far. Okay. And entrances to everything. Okay, I already made a tiny mistake here. When we're guarding the entrance to the Dwarf Fortress, or sorry, the Gnome Fortress, we want to keep a small entrance, that way we can have a single door block off anyone getting in. So I think I'm going to build a wall so that people cannot get in as easily. So it's only a 1x1 entrance, and that's a lot easier to block than anything else. So our yaks are doing fine. Eventually we want to build a trough in here, because a trough feeds the yaks by itself, so the rancher doesn't have to do as much work. They just put food in the trough. And the farm's going fine. Look how great that is. So we'll just wait on this. the first workshop that you need to build is a crude workbench, and this builds all the other workshops. And we want to get rid of this as soon as this is built, or well, as soon as we have everything we need out of it, because it's very slow and it doesn't have much of a purpose except for getting started. I need stone in order to make that, and to get stone you're often going to need to dig down. So I think what I'm going to, oopsie daisies, I think what I'm going to do is extend this out a little bit so that way I can have a path going off that leads downstairs. Well, I could put it right here, and then I can extend, or I can have another path going around here that leads down this part of the mountain, and then have paths going off here to do other things. Oh, we already have stone. Well, we don't need to dig down. That's good, because digging down gets a little bit dangerous. I believe once you go below level 7, or it might be level 8 and below, monsters start spawning if it's too dark. And my first kingdom that I had that died was because of a zombie invasion. A zombie bites a gnome, and then that gnome eventually dies, and it gets reborn as a zombie, and that's just fun times all around. So, I need to probably make a nice stockpile room. Let me just set this up. Okay, so as you can see, I set a bunch of stockpiles, and this first one is for dirt and stone, and that's just dirt and stone, not things produced with stone. This is for wood and all those furnitures. This is probably going to be overfilled soon because I put this to contain every other material in the game, really. And this is for food and drink. So your stockpiles initially aren't all that efficient because they get filled up really quickly, but eventually you can make, right here, storage items. So crates hold pretty much big things, I guess, except for dirt and stone. Barrels hold drink or liquids of any kind, and bags hold your farming stuff. They'll hold seeds and, I believe, straw, things of that nature. So is my farm. My farm is pretty much up and ready, so that'll start producing after about 6 days, I believe. Why isn't this yak in his little pen? Yak, you're being naughty. Where are you? Okay. So this is a male yak, and every 12 days a male yak will impregnate a female yak, and the female, well, a male can impregnate every day, really, but the female will only give birth once every 12 days. So we want to try to keep the female alive, and we want to have it having many babies, so that we can produce lots of yak, because from yaks you not only get meat and leather and all that, but you also get milk, which is good for drinking. Because the only other way to get drinks are to have wells, which are very inefficient. There we go. We can put it over water and have a very inefficient well. Or we can make a distillery that converts fruits and, well, just farm products, really, into drinks for our little gnomes. But that's not so quick of a way to produce all of that. So the better way that I've found is to always have yak milk. So we have, this is not constructed yet. We have everything except for logs. Silly me, I didn't build a grove yet. Groves are important because you can cut down trees and plant them regularly, but that's a lot of, you know, detail work that you shouldn't have to do, so groves automate the process. And I think I'll make it as large as the farm, and then just put this row of groves and this row of farms. And I'll make this, I think, an apple grove I found to work the best, or any type of, we don't have any clippings, any type of fruit grove, because along with getting wood and clippings, you get apples to drink or to convert into food. So these are oranges right here. I really do like apples better for some reason. They just look better, I think. And the wood that you get from, every tree produces a different color wood, and the wood that you get from apple trees is just very pretty wood. I guess the pine is the only one that I like better, but we want food and drink right now in addition to logs. So by telling them, did I tell them to forage or to get clippings? I think I told them to forage. By getting clippings, they can plant little saplings. By foraging, they just get the fruits off the trees. And by felling, they can actually get wood. So I think I'm going to have them fell some pine trees to get some wood, because we need wood to build this. And we have stone already, which is really good, because normally you have to dig really far down to get stone. But we already have it at the ready. Now we can finally build that workbench. Somebody's on it. It turns green when somebody's working at an area. Like these people are putting food or whatever they're putting down here, and you know because it's green. If you tell them to do something and it's yellow, that means they're going to do it eventually. Sometimes there's a problem and you need to find out what's causing that. So at our crude workbench, we can make planks, chairs, workbenches, and chisels. Pretty much everything you need to make other workstations that are more efficient than this one. So we can build, most important probably is a carpenter, because it builds everything else. And then once we have a carpenter, we want to make a sawmill. I'll add that later, because a sawmill cuts planks really quickly, and that's its sole job. So that's a really good thing to have. And after that, we're going to get stone cutters and stonemasons. We have some people falling asleep on the floor, which probably doesn't look too great for our image. So we want to have a dormitory somewhere. I'd like to put another stockpile here, but maybe it's better just to have a dormitory, at least for right now. So I'll make a little tiny dormitory right here. 5 by 5 seems about right. And I think everyone who can mine is asleep already. The first beds that you can make are straw beds, and you don't want to make too many of them because, again, your yaks eat straw. And if you don't feed them, they die, and they don't leave a corpse that you can get bones from or anything that you would like to get from a yak. So the best idea is to try not to starve them until you can wait 6 days for your farm to grow. But I would like my people to not sleep on the floor. They sleep for less time when they're in a bedroom, when they're in a dormitory, or when they're on a bed, or whenever they're sleeping in the room has a lot of worth to it. So basically, the better the place they sleep in, the less they have to sleep. So you want private quarters, or at least I've found that private quarters are really good to have as soon as you can get them, because they'll sleep for less time and they're not expensive to make. You just label a room as a private quarter. The only problem would be that only that person can sleep in the private quarter, because it's private. So with a dormitory, anyone who needs to sleep can sleep in there, so it's more efficient to have people sleeping in there, before you have beds and rooms for everyone. So I want to make a few straw beds, just maybe 2 to start off with, I'd say, and if that fills up, we can make another one. There's no real need to have so many in the beginning. We just want to make sure that our yaks do not die soon. So you see there's this yak milk on the floor, and it doesn't spoil, but I don't really care for having yak milk just standing out here in the sun. So we're gonna tell them to clean it up, and it's yellow right now, which means that our people who are janitors, I suppose, who clean up, are not available because they're doing other things. You can tell what everyone's doing if you go to this assign tab. You can see that a whole lot of people are idle. Our farmers are idle because the only farm is just growing. They don't have anything to do with it. Our miners are idle because I haven't told them to mine anything, and our rancher doesn't really need to do anything except feed when she needs to. But you can see that our one builder, who also, their job is also to haul stuff away, is you know, building something, so he's otherwise occupied. To fix up my farmers so they can do stuff, I'm going to build another farm, because they have so much spare time on their hands. I'm sure they can handle it. And this farm will be for strawberries, so I'll just call it strawberries. Strawberries are good for eating. And cotton, too, I want to get on that, is good for clothing, beds, bandages, everything that's important. And as soon as we can, we want to get a tailor up, because tailors, they make bandages, and as soon as you get your first goblin invasion, you want some bandages. I think I should start digging down. I'd like to have torches made before I go too far underground, just because I am really scared of zombies. That was not a pleasant encounter that I had the first time I met zombies. They were not very nice. So I'm gonna have a little room that offshoots to go downstairs, and I also learned this from my zombie invasion, because if a zombie starts coming up, it can kill everyone on the surface. If you have a door right here, it has to get through the door first. And what I'm going to do is mine stairs that go down. You can rotate an object with R, so. And this says that there's a stair that's going down right here. I'm not sure what this block is. I've never used it this way. I guess that it just builds up from here. I don't know. I've only ever used it on something that's already dug out. This downstairs option seems like the easiest way to go. So I want to keep on digging further down. So I'm gonna probably have a hallway. I like to have my dorms on the second floor that's like right under the first floor. I just think it works best. And I'm gonna build another stairway. Once I get down to a certain length, I'm gonna make the stairs a little bit more efficient by having them all in the same row so that they don't have to walk out, walk down another staircase. But for right now, it's just safer to have them all separate so that my people can be saved if there's anything downstairs trying to get up. It's much easier to guard when you have multiple staircases. And eventually, once I can get doors, I'm going to build doors. I normally use stone doors. I don't even try to go for wooden doors because there's really no point. And the stone's very plentiful, and I'm always running out of wood, it seems. So why haven't my people planted apple trees? I have apple saplings, I just didn't tell them to plant those. So they're going to start getting planted on those. My carpenter's done, which means that I can make a nice little sawmill. So I'm going to go do that. Yes. Well, this is facing the wrong direction. That's alright. I think I'll keep them all facing this way then, just for, to make it look nice. So the sawmill cuts planks really quickly. If you hover over the workshops, if you hover over them, it tells you what they do. So the sawmill cuts logs into planks. The wood carver, all the carver things, and the stone carver, and I'm pretty sure there's like, well, the bone carver is important for making bone needles, which you need to make a tailor, but most of the carvers are just, you want to make them so you can make items to trade with merchants once you get merchants, but as for right now, they're kind of useless. Like, they're just for decoration and increasing the worth of things, and we don't need that right now. What I do want to get going is maybe a distillery. I want to make a separate room for a kitchen. I always do that just to have everything in one place. So, while I still have stuff to be making, I think I'll make a little stone cutter. You need a stone cutter to cut things into blocks, and then once you have blocks, everyone else can, all the other places can use them, but few places I think can actually use stone in their raw form. So a kitchen. I think I want it to be very close to this area, because this area is, the stockpile area, is going to have all the items. So I think I'll make it right across, and I like a 9 by 9, I think. No, 9 by 9 is too big. A 7 by 7? Yes, I think a 7, yes. So that way I can fit in everything that I need. And then I'll have 2 entrances to that, because I can. So many apples, so now my people will probably not starve for a little while. Once winter comes around, your farms aren't going to grow as fast, and the trees don't grow as quickly. And I'm pretty sure that means that these don't sprout fruits all that quickly either. So you want to have enough food stored away in case of that, but normally if you have enough fruit trees out, and you're not... I don't have that many fruit trees actually. Yeah. There's some. There's a lot. Yeah, if you have enough fruit trees out and you're harvesting them regularly, and you're not harvesting them regularly, then you'll have lots of extra food for winter. If you harvest them, then there's nothing left for winter, so that's not good. Somebody just fell asleep on the floor, so I think I'll make another straw bed. I think I can afford this one. You can probably afford quite a bit, like, maybe even enough for all your gnomes, but when I did that one time, I ran out and then my yaks died, and that was pretty sad. So I'm going to try to keep that from happening. So we're down at layer 0. That's not very super awesome. I'm going to build one more time one of these weird staircases that's kind of unnecessary, just to make sure that my people do not get attacked by zombies, because that was very unpleasant. They need a workbench, a chair, and a chisel. Normally, they'll automatically make these things at one of these places. So this place is making planks for everything because the sawmill's not created yet. And the sawmill needs chairs, workbenches. Okay. I don't have anyone assigned, I don't think. The woodcutters probably work at the workbench. but I don't exactly have good jobs set up yet. I just have the game's default jobs for me. So what I'm going to do is import the jobs that I've made from a different game that I've played before, and I'll show you what those look like in a sec. So these are the jobs that I've imported. I made a few changes to old jobs that were by default jobs, and I made a few extra jobs, and you can just make this in the professions tab and just set up which is the biggest priority, and over here what they actually do. So this is probably the most important, to say do all of these options, and then this is to say you should do this before you do that. I like to have apprentices, and this is my own little creation. I know apprentice just means that you're not that great at a task and you're learning under someone, but I take it to mean that these are very basic skills that are needed for the kingdom to function. So I have just basic stoneworking and woodworking and metalworking, along with, I think it's occasionally, cooking and brewing, so my people do not die of thirst or starvation. And then a caretaker. I don't normally set up hospitals, but just in case I do, my people, if you don't have somebody taking care of them and they're in a hospital, they're probably going to get dehydrated or pass out or even die of hunger, I think is an option. So you want to have someone taking care of them. So my apprentices will do that, but as you can see, that's priority number 2, but that's pretty far down because of all the workshop jobs they have. They'll do everything else before they do that. Pretty much. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. And there's Misk, which I just want them to be hauling. I don't want them to be building anything just yet. So I'm going to assign some people, some of my extra people, to be apprentices. I don't mind too much, so I'm going to have you be an apprentice. And you might as well be, because woodcutting is not much different from my apprentice job, except they do a little bit more. Once you get more gnomes, you can specialize them more, but I like having these very broad jobs that cover a bunch of topics, while I have so few gnomes. So I guess we'll just wait for this to shape up. So this is looking like a good kingdom so far, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Please recommend to me what to name these gnomes, and I will take your comments, and as long as it's not vulgar or anything, I will name these gnomes whatever you tell me to do. I'm gonna name this one Kibbit, because that is me right now. So, yes, give me your names for gnomes, and like if you enjoy the video, dislike if you don't like it, and tell me what I can do differently. Thank you for watching.